I like to think of myself as a rational person. Trained as an economist, I learned early on the importance of maximizing utility, minimizing costs. As an investment banker, I learned the trade-off between risk and reward. As a consultant, I learned to be structured, organized, to plan ahead. And as a social entrepreneur, I learned that everything I had learned before was wrong. Well, maybe not entirely wrong, but at least insufficient. Why have you come back to Romania? I get this question almost every time I meet somebody new. Over time, I've developed a series of stock answers, depending on the person asking, the message I'm trying to get across, or simply the mood I'm in that day. Why have you come back to Romania? This single question says more about the Romanian psyche than any that I know. No one comes back to Romania. Most people try to leave Romania. Clearly, you must have failed when you were abroad, or you must be incredibly naive to think that you can change something. Well, it turns out that I haven't failed abroad, but that I am really, really naive. And that this simple fact has been my greatest asset. About 2 years ago, I decided to try to launch an NGO called Teach for Romania. The idea was to find top graduates, train them as transformational teachers, send them into poor and rural schools in Romania, and support them as transformational change agents in the education system. Now, when I first started Teach for Romania, I had no money, nor any idea of how I would raise the money necessary to fund the program. I had no experience in education or teaching, let alone Romanian education or teaching. I had no idea how a teacher in Romania becomes certified, which I later found out is quite a complex process. I had trouble writing in Romanian without making simple grammar mistakes, which is a challenge when you're trying to run an education NGO. So I had to have somebody proofread all of my emails before I sent them. I had very few contacts in Romania, and I had virtually no experience in management. I had never hired or fired anyone. I had never trained or mentored anyone. So what would you do? A logical person would say, nope, it won't work. You need to find somebody else. Knowing what I know now, I probably would have thought twice or 3 times before embarking on this journey. Luckily for me, I didn't know then what I know now. I was naive. And without this naivete, it's not clear if Teach for Romania would exist today. Now, most people think of being naive as a negative trait. Oh, he's so naive, he doesn't understand, he's bound to fail. But if we look at the great entrepreneurs, the great leaders, the great revolutionaries in history and even today, we often find young, inexperienced, motivated people. Mark Zuckerberg was 20 years old when he started Facebook. He had never run anything before. Today he runs one of the most influential companies of our time. Alexander the Great was 22 when he first invaded Asia Minor. He had no experience conducting military campaigns. Joan of Arc was 17 when she had her first audience with the king. The only thing to her name was a vision she claimed to have had. Lawrence of Arabia, T.S. Lawrence, was 29 when he led his first Arab revolt. He was not even Arab. And he had virtually no combat experience. What these people had in common was that they simply did not know or understand that what they were attempting was impossible. They were naive. But is this enough? Now, when I was 4 years old, my mother decided that she would leave Romania. She was a well-established physician with a decent future in front of her. But the challenges of 1980s Romania, the difficult state of medicine, the illegality of contraception drove her to seek better alternatives for her and for her family. So one cold December day, she got into her Dacia 1300 and drove west. And she ran into the largest snowstorm in decades. But she couldn't turn back because in those days, leaving Romania was a one-way trip. So she got to the border with Austria and Hungary and got stuck in the snowstorm for several days before finally making it to Vienna, where her journey was only beginning, because she stayed an extra 18 months in a refugee camp awaiting for the asylum to the United States, her final destination. When she arrived, she took another 3 years to pass and take and pass all of her examinations to get her medical degrees recognized. It took another 5 years to complete her residency and finally achieve her goal. After 10 years, she had become a medical doctor in the United States. Now, did she know on that December day that it would take 10 years to achieve her goal? Probably not. Did she have any idea of how difficult the journey would be? Most certainly not. She was naive. But to keep at it for 10 years requires something different, and this is the main lesson of my mother's story. Because at some point, the naivete wears out, and you realize how little you knew about the initial challenge and how difficult the journey ahead will be. And it's at this point when the importance of determination and perseverance kick in. So to continue for 10 years, despite many challenges, requires a large amount of perseverance. In my own journey, in the process of building Teach for Romania, there were many times when I wondered, is it worth it? Can we succeed? There are many challenges. Should we give up? But it was my determination and my perseverance that allowed me to overcome the initial disadvantages of my naivete. So if you're passionate about something and you're determined to make it happen, but you have no experience, you don't know what you don't know, you feel overwhelmed, maybe you're a little naive, then it just might be the right time to take that plunge. Thank you.